Life can be tough. Being hard on yourself can make it harder. Many of us are great at being our worst critics, but loving, accepting, and celebrating who we are, no matter how imperfect we are, is the key to a healthier, happier life. So, what can we do to make our lives happier? We can love ourselves. What is self-love? The concept of self-love is to think of it as a compass that guides our actions and behaviors towards ourselves and our needs in every new situation. Self-love encompasses everything we think of when we think of love: compassion, acceptance, support, kindness, validation, and appreciation. Self-love is more of an action than a feeling, as self-love involves practice. It's a way of being with ourselves that includes understanding our flaws, understanding our loss, and communicating with ourselves about our lives without judgment or punishment. Loving yourself isn't easy because many people shut down their feelings, vulnerabilities, and behaviors to protect themselves from hurt. It's easier to look at ourselves from the outside, in terms of how others perceive us, and how we view ourselves based on what we give to others and how they respond to us. There's a shift in perspective when a person starts to put their own needs first. Why is self-love important? Learning how to love yourself is essential to living a joyful, authentic, and healthier life in all aspects of our lives. It affects who we choose to be our best friend for life, how we present ourselves in the workplace, how we do our job, how we bring up our children, how we show up daily in our lives, how we find meaning and purpose in our life, how we interact with people around us, and how we deal with the issues in our lives. When we don't love ourselves enough, we see ourselves in a negative light. This leads to negative thoughts and feelings such as guilt or disapproval, which can lead to anxiety, depression, or even suicide in extreme cases. Why we might be lacking self-love. It's important to remember that low self-esteem or self-love isn't something that comes with age. It could be developed in childhood and continue as we grow up. It can come from a variety of things, like the actions of others around us, a traumatic experience, emotional neglect, or lack of care and love in our childhood. We hate ourselves because somewhere in our past, we have heard a story that tells us we are worthless. We don't deserve to be here. We deserve to go away. And that story has stuck with us. Remember that you don't have to love your reality to love yourself, or accept or forgive yourself. How to love ourselves. Remember that self-love is all about practice. Here are a few tips to support us to love ourselves more. Quiet our inner critic. The inner critic is a collective term used to describe the inner voice that is often critical of one's actions, thoughts, and emotions. This can manifest in the form of negative thoughts, such as, "I should have done better," "I am not good enough," "I can't do this," and "I am such a failure." These negative thoughts can be very painful and hard to handle, and can even lower our self-esteem. To combat this, it is important to cultivate a practice of gentleness with ourselves and others, rather than judging or punishing ourselves for being human. We need to be kind to ourselves and replace the negative talk with a more balanced, positive self-talk. Through mindfulness, it is possible to recognize and distance oneself from these negative thoughts, rather than attempting to repress them. Outsider's perspective. What would you do if you saw someone you love feeling the way you are feeling right now? Then, imagine how you would encourage them to move forward. The funny thing about life and the brain is that we don't treat ourselves the same way we would our friends or family. We might try to encourage them to do something positive, but then we would blame ourselves for feeling the same way. Instead, we should look at the situation with a compassionate eye and be compassionate to ourselves. We should love ourselves in this moment and every moment. Watch the self-talk. If you don't love yourself, it's easy to get stuck in negative self-talk. Even if you don't think it's wrong, it can have a big impact on your self-esteem and well-being. Repeatedly saying negative things to ourselves sends a message to our subconscious that it's true. Once our subconscious starts believing it as a fact, we will start to believe that we are not good enough. We are idiot, fool, ugly, or whatever negative words we have been saying to ourselves. It is much harder to change that deep-rooted belief and get back to feeling good about us. To combat this, it is important to rephrase negative words in a positive manner, even if they appear to be a lie. Unfortunately, this belief is not innate, but rather a product of life experiences. Fortunately, it is possible to reverse it and view oneself in a more positive light. Let go of the past. Every once in a while, go on a healing journey to let go of resentments and finish healing from the bad things that have happened to us. There are many different processes for doing this, so find what works for us. If you want to love yourself more, it's important to work on healing from past hurts and letting go of any resentments you may have. We all carry around a lot of emotional baggage that can really hurt our self-confidence and esteem. If we don't heal from painful experiences, we can start to bring that pain back into our lives. Every now and then, we should embark on a journey of self-healing to release resentments. There are lots of different ways to do this, so it's up to you to find the one that works for you. Accept help. To make sure we're always paying attention to how to love ourselves and applying these tips, it's a good idea to see a therapist on a regular basis for help. Conclusion. Reading a self-love list is one thing. Doing anything on that list is another. When you're learning to love yourself, choose one or two things that seem achievable and commit to doing them. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to self-care or self-love. If you find that one self-care method isn't working for you, that's okay too.